Hey everyone, Christina here. We're going to be making a little light up haunted house today using the Spoopy Donuts that I colored yesterday. So we're going to be using some scratch paper that I have here, and I'm just going to stick some of this. I do have a lot of extras that I cut out for this house. This is a silhouette design store cutout, and the link for that will be down below if anybody wants to grab a hold of that. It is a very cute little cutout. You're going to need one of each of these items. We're going to need a little vellum house. We're going to need the little front panel, which the little triangle is also a front panel. It just goes on that black piece. I did cut mine out a little bit different than the silhouette store person did. Just different colors on the paper because I wanted to actually use distress ink. You're also going to need a piece of mylar. You're going to learn how to make your own stencil so that you can make grass. We're also going to need one of these back panels for a sky. And then this part is the base of the card itself. So let me go ahead and just put all of this aside. That way I'm not confusing myself. Just going to slide that in there for later. And then we are going to go ahead and get started as soon as I put all of this aside with the vellum house. I'm going to be using Y19 to color the house. So just going to put this aside, and we're going to go ahead and color this with Y19, but instead of just coloring on my glass board, I'm going to grab a piece of scratch paper just because I don't want to take the time to clean up the mess, being a little lazy, I guess. So I'm just going to color the whole thing. If you look above in the card itself, you can see that the windows are a little bit yellow. And that's how I did that, so that way when you turn on the lights, it actually looks as if the lights are on. So I wanted it to be yellow as if, the lights are on in the house. So I'm going to go ahead and color all of this. I'm using the chisel end just because it's faster and it's easier. I don't use the chisel end a whole lot unless I'm doing big areas like this, and it comes in quite handy. So after I get all of this colored, we are going to go ahead and make our stencil. So if you have, I used a piece of 6x6. You can get it on Amazon. I'll have the link down below for you. And you can just grab your Sharpie, and we're just going to make a couple of wavy lines, kind of like a hill. And I'm just going to do this on a couple of different sides. You can see it's not a big wave. You can cross the lines if you want to. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut all of this out with my scissors. And I'm just going to cut on the line, or you can even go just below the line if you want to. That way, if you're worried that the Sharpie is going to come off, it shouldn't. But if you're worried about that, you can go ahead and just cut below the line. So I'm going to set that aside. And now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to be making the grass little hills for the front. And we're going to be using walnut, mowed lawn, and black soot. Now, there was a technical error in I was not videoing. I don't know what happened when I was videoing, but I didn't realize that I had paused and then not restarted it. So you'll see that I put the first backing layer down, and then I'm going to go ahead and put that little triangle piece over the top. And the reason I'm doing that is so that the lines will match. And I'm just making sure that it's on my little sticky mat. And it's sticking just a little bit. And then I'm going to put there's two little tiny sides, and I put all my small pieces in this little bag. I'm going to grab out my other little things that I need. but I'm just going to put everything together so that I can make sure my lines are the same. And these little pieces will go on the sides, but it'll be really cool if all my lines are all nice and magically the same. So I'm going to go ahead, and you can see that I started the video on accident. So I went ahead and I moved my stencil down, and I just rotated the stencil back and forth for the lines. And I started out with the walnut like you can see here, and then I went over it with the mowed lawn. And this is at the bottom, so I'm not using a stencil. I'm really sorry I didn't get that filmed for you. Yeah, huge mistake, so sorry. But I think all of you are more than smart enough that you can get the gist of how I move the stencil back and forth to get the hills. You just rotate it, use one side, then the other side, and go back and forth. So at least that's all done. It's like speeding it up, right? So I'm going to peel all this off. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the black little midnight part. And you'll see that I just showed you that that white bit won't show up because you'll have that black piece there. So I'm going to start with some Distress Oxides again. I'm going to be using, first I'll use Seedless Preserves. I'm going to use some Twisted Citron, Mermaid Lagoon, Black Soot, and then we're going to put some little stars on it with some Doc Martens ink. So I'm just going to put a couple of little things on it, and I'm showing you not that you don't have to go all the way down if you don't want to, because you can just see how far it goes and no one's going to see the rest of it, so you don't really have to do the bottom half. So I just made sure that the galaxy part was at the top where people would see it. So that first color was Seedless Preserves, then Citron, and now I'm using some Mermaid Lagoon for some blue in there. Make it nice and pretty. Then we will go ahead and use the Black Soot to make it look like nighttime. And that's also why I don't know if I said this, that's also why I went over the grass with Black Soot, because your grass isn't going to be bright green, you know, unless it's daytime. At night, it's going to be a little bit darker, so that's why I use the Black Soot on the grass as well. So just really getting that blended, but making sure that I don't lose those colors. And after I get this done, I will grab a little bit of chipped sapphire just to make it a little bit more blue, because I do like it to look like midnight. And that just brings, with the black underneath, it just really makes it look more like really midnight. And I did lose a little bit of my blue, so I'm just bringing a little bit of that back in, my Mermaid Lagoon. And then just blend that with the Black Soot. That way we don't lose the brightness, but it still looks like midnight. So now I'm going to go ahead and grab my Doc Martens. I was just showing you all the little cute stars that we can make with the Doc Martens ink. And I'm going to use a toothbrush. And that way it just splatters a lot nicer and makes some little tiny stars and really big stars with the toothbrush instead of just having regular splatter marks. Now that that is all finished, we're going to use some C3 and C6 to put some shadows on our little graveyard here. First, I'm using some C6, and I'm just going around the edges. And I'm just going around the top edges because that's all you're going to see is the top edges. And then I'm going to use some C3 to pull that out just a little bit to give it a little bit more of a graveyard kind of shadow. There we go. So we can set that aside. Now we're gonna put in our lights or get our lights prepared. So I love these lights. They come with an adhesive back. You can get these on Amazon. And I love that the lights are clear, but you can color them with your Copic or your alcohol markers, whatever markers you use. I'm using Y19 to color 2 of them. And then one of them I'm actually going to color with my R29. And you'll see the reason that I do that in just a second. But I'm really making sure to coat the entire thing, the entire light. And now I'm just coating the entire third light with the R29. And I thought we'd make that, you can see right here with next to little vamp, little Dracula Spoopy Donut. There's a red light right there for him. So if you're not using the Dracula, then you can go ahead and do 2, do all 3 of them in yellow if you want to. I just thought it would be nice. This is another nice thing with these lights, with the wires. You can go ahead and just curl them around your finger and not have to worry about it. So we're going to take our card base. We're going to start putting everything together. And the first thing we're going to do is I'm just going to grab my my mono adhesive. I couldn't think of the name for a minute. We're just going to put these on the sides. Then we will take our front little piece, and that's going to lay right in the center. Then you need your little black piece. And that will create a little bit of border, make it look all nice. And then we'll put our very front piece on. So now we have to go ahead and burnish some pieces right there, because we want to make sure that everything folds, because this will lay flat. If you want to mail it, you can just mail it like a 6x6 card, or I think it's 5.5 by 5.5. I don't have it right directly in front of me right now while I'm doing the voiceover for this video, but it will lay flat so that you can send it in the mail. It's really, really nice. So now we need to burnish the sides of our house. And then you will want to go ahead and this part, the little black part, is nice because that's where we're going to put the light. So I'd actually cut 2 of those. And I'm going to go ahead and put my light. You can use, it doesn't matter which brand you use. Sometimes I use Panasonic and sometimes I use a generic brand. These lights are pretty good. Make sure you put it on. And the nice thing is you don't have to hold the light down with these ones. You can push the button and it will just stay on. That's another thing I like. You want to put your battery closest to the bottom. That way, whoever you give your card to, they can change out the battery if they need to. But these batteries do last pretty long with these lights. It's nice. So just make sure the adhesive is down. And you remember where you put your little button. But so you don't have to sit there and hold it down, which is really, really great. So now you just want to bend your wires and get them to where you want them to be. And I'm putting 2 of them behind because they will be going into the house. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and put 3 of them behind. And that black piece is essentially just there to hold the light so that it will, it was just kind of hard to figure out where it goes sometimes. So in this card, I just cut the extra piece. So I'm going to go ahead and put some 3D foam tape on either side of the light. And I'm going to double that up so it'll go too high. Because you want it to be as tall or as high as the little silver light piece where the battery is held. And this is going to go right on the inside of the front panel. So we're going to take that off and we will line it up with the black one that is already on the front panel. And I will check periodically whether my lights are working. So now you can see I can just wrap that around my finger. So now I'm going to go ahead and grab some 3D foam and get that ready. Don't pay attention to the washi tape. So I'm going to get this ready and then I'm going to grab my little graveyard because we want that to go on first because the red light is actually going to go on behind that. I'm just going to use some mono tape and I'm going to go ahead and make sure it's showing the way that I want it to. And then I can lay all of this down, get my light in position, and then secure it with the 3D foam, which will also help keep the house positioned where I want that to be as well. So we want to make sure that those are glued on nice. We're just going to use some 3D or some mono adhesive. I'm getting my adhesives mixed up this morning. I need more coffee. So now you're just going to lay that down, but it's got to go not on the fold, but right next to the fold at the top. So you just want to make sure that you're getting that part in there. Now we're going to go ahead and use some glue, just some liquid glue to put the vellum on to the house. I'm just going to lay that on there. And then we need to position our other lights, but we want to position our lights so that they go into the windows. So I'm going to wrap this around my finger and I'm going to make sure I put the lights right in front of the window. So I'm going to grab some score tape and hold down both of those lights in, behind the windows so that they'll light up, and you can see that they do. So you always want to check your lights and check your positions before you close everything up because it might not be where you want it to be. So I'm going to use some liquid glue and I'm going to go ahead and close up this other side. But before I do close it up, I'm going to go ahead and put my little back panel on here. Now, don't glue it all the way down because you're going to have to glue, so glue that to the side. Make sure it's towards the back. And then I'm going to use score tape to go ahead and put the back panel on. And if you want to put it behind your little midnight scene, you're going to want to put your midnight scene on after, but I didn't really mind. So I just went ahead and put that right over the top, and you can see it lights up. So I do have a little push button here that I'm going to stick that on with some glue. I always put my finger down and then put the glue bottle right above my finger. That way I know where my push button goes. I feel like it's easier to just put the glue down first and then put the button on top of the glue. And then all I have to do is glue in all of my little monsters. or actually my Spoopy Donuts. So I'm just going to get some score tape and some, actually that's 3D foam that I'm using first. It's 1/8 3D foam. And I'm going to put some just on the very edge of the Spoopy Donut of the back because he's kind of hanging off a little bit. And then I'm going to put a little bit on the front side of Frank so that I can stick him to the back of the house, just on the very edge. Then I'm going to use some more, just a little bit. I'm going to put some on the front of Drax so that he'll stick to the backside of the little graveyard. And then I'm going to use a couple of pieces for the little mummy guy because he is going to be right on the front of the card. There we go. And then we're just going to use a couple of pieces for the little witchy poo. And I'm going to double her up on one side just to make her make it look like she's coming a little bit more forward than the mummy. And the side I doubled up is the side that she's not touching the mummy. So then you can go ahead and put on whatever sentiment you want. So I just have some scratch paper and I'm going to use some VersaFine ink. And I'm going to stamp this down and then I will go ahead and just cut it out. There we go. And we will put that on the front of our card. You can use 3D foam if you want. You can use glue, whatever you would prefer to use. And I'm going to use some 3D foam. I'm just going to use a little bit here. And I have to find a new place to put it because my first card I did, I had my little push button a little higher and over to the side a little more. So I hope you had a good time making this card with me for the 13 days of Halloween 2025. Remember, Spoopy Donuts is on sale, 35% off, just for the next 24 hours. And I really hope you loved this card as much as I love pushing that button on and off. Bye, everyone.